Hi, this is Adam from Inflectra, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about how you can create a release and sprint plan in SpiraTeam. Hopefully you've watched the previous videos where we showed you how to create a project and how to create requirements and add them to your project. So in this video, we'll be taking that one step further. If you look on the screen, these are the requirements we did the last time, and now we're going to be creating a set of releases and iterations or sprints to do some planning. So to do that, you're going to click on the planning menu and this time choose the releases option. And when the screen comes up, what you'll need to do now is use the same toolbar that we saw in the requirements module, and we're going to first of all insert a new release, and that will appear right here in the list with the word new release and a version number. And the first thing we do is create the main releases. So let's create two releases. We'll create release 1.0, and that looks good to me, the version number, and then it will automatically choose today's date and add on 1 month, and that's okay, we can live with that. So we'll hit save and new, and then what we'll do is enter in a second release. So we'll have a release 1.1, and we'll change the version number that suggests to 1.100. That version number is up to you, however you want to define it. The system will suggest what it thinks is the next number, but you're welcome to edit it. And now in this case, the date would need to be further out because this release is going to happen after the other one. So we'll move the date out to, let's say, from August 23rd. So let's say it's August 27th, and it's going to finish, say, in 2 months, roughly. So August 31st, October 31st, hit save. So we've now got two releases. Now, what we also might want to do is make the first release maybe a little bit longer, maybe they overlap slightly. So we can do that also. We'll go in here and we'll make that September 24th. So you can have releases that overlap because you may have different teams. Okay, now we've got the releases done, we now need to add the sprints or iterations. And that depends on how you use your system. You might just have releases, but otherwise, if you are doing an agile project, you're typically going to want to have what we call sprints or iterations. Methodologies like Scrum will call them sprints. Extreme programming and some of the other agile methodologies call them iterations. They're basically time-boxed increments of functionality that make up a release. And what we'll do is choose the chat box here under release 1.0, and now we can use the insert child iteration. That means it will create an iteration and put it under the release. Alternatively, we could have just created it and used the indent feature. And we'll call that release 1.0 iteration 1. And we'll just give it a naming convention where it's the release and then four zeros and then the number of the iteration. And notice that the type is listed as iteration. Hit save, and there you'll see we've now got an iteration with the auto-generated number. And we can do the same thing again. Choose a checkbox, insert child iteration. And we actually want 3 iterations, so I'm going to do it one more time. And I will make the naming consistent. So release 1.0 iteration 2, release 1.0 iteration 3. And I will need to change the dates. So let's just save these and then I'll come back and fix those. So to do a button edit, you just click on the checkbox, you shift select where you want the edit to end, hit the edit button, and they're all editable. And now I can make sure the dates make sense. So we're going to do 2-week iterations, roughly speaking. So we need to move that one back just a little bit from where it started, which is July 23rd to August 23rd. So we're going to move it up to the 9th. And we'll make this one start August 10th, let's say, and we'll run this one. That's good enough, yeah, that's fine. So we have 3 iterations. Actually, this one does need to be further out. This one needs to be August 23rd. So just make sure you get your months and dates right. Sometimes you get confused like me and you get the wrong month in there. There you go, that's better. Perfect. So we've now got a series of 3 iterations that are running in series. Now you can have parallel iterations as well. That's totally fine. The system will let you do that. You could have 2 teams running in parallel with 2 sets of sprints running in parallel in that release. Now we've done that, what we can then do is decide how do we want to resource these sprints and releases. So to do that, we're going to want to change the number of people listed against each one, and that changed the planned effort. The planned effort is the amount of time in hours that is available based on the standard working days for this project, for this iteration or sprint or release. And so you can change the standard number of hours per day, the standard number of days per week that are working in the administration, and that's not in this particular video today, but assuming that's all set up the way you want, you typically will have a planned effort based on the date range. And so the one thing you will want to change is how many people are working in that between that start and end date. And to do that, we go to the show hide columns and we show number of resources, and everything's set by default to 1. And like we did with before, I can choose the edit button and select all, and I can now set in some values. And so what we'll do is we're going to change the number of releases, and for release 1.0 and all of the sprints, we're going to make that a 2-person release. So there's 2 people working on that release and all of these sprints that make it up. We'll leave the other one as 1. So we hit save, and you'll notice that once that's done, all the values in the planned effort field have now doubled. And if you want to adjust any of the other values for any of the other sprints or releases, you can do the same thing. If you want to change any of the other fields, you can use the checkboxes and the inline editing to make the changes. So now that we've got our releases set up with the dates and the planned effort the way we want, the next thing we'll be doing in the next video is adding requirements and tasks together and mapping them to the releases. So thanks for watching this video, and see you next time.